The parable this morning, a rich man, a poor man named Lazarus. It's a story, it's a parable, it illustrates a truth. It is not a treatise on how you get to heaven. This is not poor folks go to heaven because their earth was hellish, and it's also not rich folks go to Hades either. The early days of the church, they depended on rich folks, not all that unlike the guy in our parable with the purple. Jesus and disciples, they'd spend nights in their homes. So did the Apostle Paul, setting up shop in these places where he preached. We even have an entire book of the Bible named after such a wealthy individual, the letter to Philemon. Philemon was a very wealthy man. He opened his house to become a home church there in Colossia. A rich man who has everything. A poor man named Lazarus who has nothing. And stories like this are all over the world, as you heard me say. They are across cultures, across timelines, everywhere, anywhere. And so why? Why do you think stories like this exist everywhere? Everywhere you go, don't you know? Any place, any time, there will be clear and obvious wealth disparity, obvious inequality. In the poorest places, on the poorest parts of the earth, there are those who have more than nothing, right there among those who have only nothing. Every one of us here today is rich beyond measure in the eyes of someone alive right now, whose lives do not bear all but a passing resemblance to yours, to mine, to ours. To put this into perspective, I think numbers can be helpful. The World Bank produces data on poverty and inequality, and it tells me that the total income of my household puts my family in the richest 1.9% of the global population. I'm abundantly thankful for your church, this church, your commitment to my family. You paid me fairly so we can live here in Tosa and bring up my family in this beautiful, wonderful community. Yet even in my own neighborhood, in this city, we do not stand out even in the least. But in Sierra Leone, Madagascar, Malawi, those three, together with Afghanistan, represent the poorest of the poor nations. And there, I earn 333 times the average income. The average income for this coastal nation, Sierra Leone, is about what I'd expect if I passed the hat to the choir right here and now. The country's average income is actually less than what the average annual income is for a kid getting their weekly allowance. And given all that, can you guess? I bet you can. Can you guess who's the most powerful person in that nation? Are you surprised to learn that it's the wealthiest man in all of Sierra Leone? That the richest man in the entire country became its president? Some things don't change. I cannot think of a single place in this world where wealth isn't synonymous with power, and I'll even take it a step further. Being rich is the only true superpower of this world. Personally funded space programs, mega yachts with their own yachts to supply the mega yachts, private islands as if they were some kind of Bond villain, millions of dollars spent in research to reverse aging, to stave off death. In the world today, being rich is like having a superpower. Being rich is like being Spider-Man. A number of years ago, I interviewed a Milwaukee Brewer, a professional baseball player you might have remembered. I was curious about how someone who was a professed man of faith and a multimillionaire approached his outsized wealth. Chase Anderson, you might remember him. A few decent years with the Brewers. I spoke to him in 2019 when he was set to earn $6 million that year. $6 million placed him in the richest 1% of the world, 444.5 times more than the global median. That kind of money, Chase Anderson was a lot like Spider-Man. Because when he wasn't in uniform, he could hide in plain sight. He's just like Peter Parker, Spider-Man's alter ego. He'd walk in here and you wouldn't be any the wiser. When I met him, he had come back from a birthday party his son was attending. He looked like 50% of everyone I see in this world. Hat, shorts, t-shirt. I see hundreds of people who look like that just every day, who look just like the richest person that up until very recently I had ever known. And like Spider-Man, Chase blends in. And like a superhero, looking like everyone else, he's a humble man. But like that, it did not change one iota of what he was capable of. Because under the mild-mannered guise of Peter Parker, under the mild-mannered guise of a young dad, hid the superpower, and the only one true superpower in the world today, and it was his incredible outsized wealth. It's the only true superpower today, friends. And like Spider-Man, when it comes to wealth like that, what do we say? With great power comes great responsibility. The first Spider-Man movie came back in 2002. That's when that phrase, with great power came great responsibility, hit the consciousness of a generation or more. If you know, Spider-Man's Uncle Ben tells him that he has this power to change things, to make lives better or make them worse. He can use his power for personal gain or for the sake of others. The choice will be his and his alone. And don't you know that Jesus said about the same thing? Much is given, much is expected. Because stories of rich and poor are found in the Quran, in ancient Romans, in Marvel Comics, in many cultures across times and places, and they all arrive at the same place. Having great power presents itself with massive opportunities, massive responsibilities, and here and today, friends, hear me say that there is no greater power in the world than the power that we entrust to the obscenely rich and wealthy. Some things never change. The rich man in our story has a superpower. What is it? He's wealthy and alive all at the same time. He could change the world. He can use what he has for the betterment of the world, the betterment of everybody, the betterment of one man, but, and this is the important part, he chooses not to. From 2006 to 2010, at the cost of somewhere around $2 billion with a B, billion dollars, Mumbai billionaire named Mukesh Ambani, the richest man in all of India, the top 10 richest person in the world, built a house that dominates the Mumbai skyline. Ambani named the house Antilia, after the legendary island of Spanish lore. The legend says that the mystical island of Antilia began during the time of the Muslim conquest of what now is Spain, and so seeking to flee from Muslim conquerors, 7 Christian bishops gathered their 7 congregations and got out of Dodge. They jumped on boats, embarked westward across the Atlantic Ocean, and where a legend was, they arrived at an island uninhabited. They called it Antilia. They formed 7 new settlements. When you're wealthy beyond all comprehension, rich beyond the dreams of practically everybody else, if you cannot find and buy an empty island then from which to flee from those encroaching around you, then you can build one. That's what Ambani did. Not an island surrounded by the Atlantic, but a vertical island going straight up and away from the world around him. Not out to shore, but way up, straight up, 27 stories tall, 400,000 square feet. The house dominates the skyline. Among its many amenities, a personal temple Because God forbid that you would pray with others. A 50-seat theater, a 168-car garage, a room that spits out snowflakes from holes in the wall. You need a lot of room to escape the world around you. The plot, 49,000 square feet. This is where his house can be found. Not for nothing, he bought it from an orphanage. There it is. The man who lives atop Antilla looks out over the world he could change. Perched 27 stories above Mumbai. Mumbai, a massive city. 60% of the entire population lives in slums. Nowhere in the world is it higher. Nowhere else in the world do they live like they do. Do they live like he does? This rich man, he can use whatever he has for the betterment of the world, but he chose to build a house. Some things never change. The rich man in Jesus' story sits atop an Antilla of sorts, a refuge from the encroachment of the unwelcome. That's where we meet him. He's behind the gates, living out in a world, in his own little domicile, in his own little universe that's so very unlike what he finds right outside. His gates, his clothes are purple, his linen is fine, he doesn't eat, he feasts, and not just that, but he does so sumptuously every day. It's an important piece of vocabulary, friends. Luke borrows it from his already parable of the prodigal son, because don't you know, sumptuously is exactly how Luke describes the feast that the father throws for the return of his son, as if to say that that once-in-a-lifetime party at all the stops is how this guy lives out his every day. If the man looked outside his gates, he would have seen Lazarus. And this story does not care to get us to consider, I wonder what Lazarus' life is like, because we know it's terrible, we know it's awful, we know he has no comfort, but it's not our focus. You and I are not here today to consider what Lazarus' life is like. We already know it. We are here to ask, what is Lazarus' life to the rich man? Lazarus has nothing. The not Lazarus has everything. It's the prodigal son in reverse. Luke says that the rich man eats like prodigals every day, and Lazarus dreams of the scraps that would end up for the kinds of pigs that we're told the prodigal son cared for and thought about eating from. The question is not who is Lazarus, but rather the question is who is Lazarus to the rich man? And what's the answer? He's nobody. The wealth system of the times, influenced heavily by the Romans, told us that it was all about patronage. Rather than building billion-dollar houses, the wealthy of the Roman society sought to build a patronage system. They used their money to climb social ladders. They used their money to become indispensable to others, to have a kind of control, not over everyone, but the right ones, the right people. They became benefactors. So I wonder if you'll imagine with me this rich man's feast becomes his daily work of entertaining, the daily work of trying to impress the right people, the daily work of trying to make the right people depend on this rich man, the right people beholden to this rich man. One imagines the kind of spread he might need in order to flex these muscles, the muscles that convey wealth and power that one day the right people can depend on. He's taken his table and weaponized it. On top of it is an arsenal of more than you can eat, more food than a family can eat. Why? Why? Why does he feast sumptuously every day? For show. It was all for show. You would walk into his house and see the table and know that that waste would be impressive. The daily purchasing around town would have been renowned. The table is the reason why Lazarus is at his gate. The table is the reason why Lazarus has been placed here, there at the entrance of this rich man's house. Can you imagine with me Lazarus' friends bringing him here, asking around, wondering what can be done for him, and being told that if this guy needs a steady meal, if he needs even just the scraps, if you put him right here, the food behind these gates would more than suffice. But don't ask to be let in. It won't happen. You might get the scraps. You might get the waste if you ask for the pearls before they hit the swine. Maybe. Maybe not. The story makes it clear. The story makes it painfully clear. The rich man can save Lazarus. The rich man can give him life. The rich man can give him health and wholeness, but he chooses not to. He could, but he won't. He chooses to do nothing for Lazarus. Why? Because Lazarus could do nothing for him. This isn't heaven and hell, friends. This isn't a treatise on getting to heaven. It's an old story about having while those around you are needing. A parable about having the kind of power to stave off the touch of death to the countless Lazarus, because your having meets the world the Lazarus is needing. Think with this, friends. The rich man has, the Lazarus needs. What can save Lazarus' life is nothing to the rich man. It's literally nothing. It's going to be scraps. It's worth nothing. Scraps worth nothing to the rich man. They've served its purpose. They've done what they're there for, and they are worth now nothing more. And the story goes, right, that the rich man chooses not even to give away what is worthless to him. Why? Because Lazarus is worthless to him. It's a choice. He chooses not to. You know as well as I do, rich and poor alike, you know what to do. We've always known what to do. They have always known what to do. They've always known what is possible. In our case today, and it wouldn't cost this rich man any more than he was already happy to spend, but he won't, because Lazarus has nothing to offer in return. Rich men across time and place have always known what to do. And nobody is in a better place than to save Lazarus' life. Nobody out there is in a better place to save the lives of the Lazaruses who are sleeping under overpasses, even right now, or the Lazarus is choosing between insulin or a meal. They can change the world if they choose to. They choose not to. Imagine the superpower resting in your hands, where you might weigh the choice to personally start a space program or use even a fraction of your wealth to eradicate malaria in Africa. The rich man, the rich men, the richest man in the world, it's a superpower. Anything is possible. But they choose not to. Why? The hungry, the poor, malaria-ravaged African nations have scant little to offer that the richest man in the world needs. So he won't. But we will, right? We will. Not only will we must. Let me just hang this here. Let's not wait for a crisis. Let's not wait until the Lazarus arrives. They won't. But we will. And more important, they can choose not to. We can. And we say yes. We are people of faith. We know what to do. Amen. Will you stand and sing with me?